Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Amazon Web Services, AWS. Now, AWS is a very huge topic. Now, if you truly want to do something with it, I would urge you to watch my first, not my bit, like basically a tutorial that I found that actually goes in depth and actually deals with pricing and actually running a demo. Now, if you want to understand what the hell this AWS is, then watch this video. If you want to use it, I would urge you to watch that video. But if you want to understand what we are talking about, what does AWS mean? Watch this video. Now, AWS is basically website service providing or web services. Nowadays, it also provides what we call cloud computing. So everything you can do over the network, basically over the World Wide Web network, this company can provide you to do. Now, what does that mean? That simply means in the old days, we have simple argument. Once a company started to become big, they start to buy a server hardware and they start to build their own server, and that will be connected to the main internet, and that's how you will have like your Facebook, your AOL, and all that jazz. Now that's how it used to work, but in early years people realized this architecture approach is very expensive, because again, you buy your hardware based on your worst case scenario. So you're like, okay, my average use is 500 MB up and down. Let's say 500 MB of data is going up and down, but during some peak times, during let's say Black Friday sales or something like that, I'm going up to 5 gigabytes. So you have to buy hardware to handle that 5 gigabyte, because what you're gonna do, crash your site on your most profitable day, you have to buy that. Now what is the consequence of that? You are losing money throughout that whole time. So to solve this problem, a whole industry started to emerge, which are service provider. Basically, same way you get internet from a service provider, web services are now something that there are many companies who are specializing. I'm going to provide your services. You only give a damn about the software end. I'm going to take care of the hardware. Where to put that hardware? How to make sure that it's secure from earthquake? How the heck you make sure is the building is physically safe? How the heck is grounding, electricity, UPS, generators, power supplies? You don't have to worry about it. You only deal with the software part, and there I will give you a terminal. You put your software through this, and that's it. Like, you do not even touch the hardware. I take care of that. So this idea, Amazon also started to invest money into it in March 2006. So it's kind of old. Like, they started to do this very early. Now, in the olden days of 1990s, this was kind of starting to take place, simply because again, not every company was like directly able to buy services. So web hosting was a thing. So this is just the next level evolution of that. And in this scenario, you get a lot more things. Not only you will like, okay, just a dumb file hosting site where you can run algorithms now, where you can do neural network processing. Basically, if you are dumping image, you can do neural image processing on that. Company will provide you, okay, this much neural compute unit we have, depending on your architecture, train the neural AI based on what you want. So nowadays, that's why we call it cloud services, not hosting services. It's no longer just like a dump. Okay, I'm gonna dump my files over there. It's much more advanced now, so you can do things with it. And the whole selling point of Amazon from day one was that we're gonna scale on your needs, not like you have to buy like directly. So you buy it based on what you need, bare minimum, and if you start to go upwards, they're gonna take care of it, and then they're gonna bill you. So if you had, let's say, a normal scenario where your like graph is like, okay, I'm selling this one, selling this one, I had a spike, it went up, my expenditure on the server went up, but here's the generally the old structure would have been, I would have bought from day one, I would have bought for something like this, but in Amazon it will be like, okay, I'm gonna charge you for this much in this time, benefit. You made so much profit, so you can afford it, but the moment it goes down, Amazon will also reduce their price. So that way your expenditure and your earnings are matching, they are aligning, they are not becoming a bottleneck for you. So that is why Amazon has such a catchy slogan, pay as you go. Basically, how much you are using, directly pay. Again, they have classes of that. Like, again, you want the most secure, like physically isolated servers and all that for, let's say, intelligence agency. They will pay extra more just to get that physical layers of separation. Again, you want like, extra neural network processing, they will charge something different for that. But how do you use that? That's directly on your use case scenario. So you buying an apartment and you just pay a rental fee for that apartment. But how much you use, based on that you get your electricity bill, based on that you get your water bill and all that. It's not like a fixed rate. So that's a very appealing for every company basically. Now, why the heck this whole architecture became a thing? Because if I'm reasonably sure, most of you have studied in school, like you have a computer, then you have a server hardware. It's not that different. And in reality, it's not that different. It's inherently just a more expensive equipment, and they are very reliable. So it's not even like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and it's gonna like, become a hassle to deal with it. They are quite reliable. And if you buy quality hardware, they can keep running for 5 to 6 years without any issues. And this is proven record. It's not like I'm saying that. This is proven record. That's the average lifespan of a basic server. So problem is, data centers on like a proper quality one, they are expensive as hell. Even if you can afford it, Can you block that capital? That's the main question. Now, imagine it this way: you are 10 people of 10 group of people. You are developing an app. That's it. Okay, you got 10 people. They are developing an app. Do you really want to allocate 2 or 3 people whose sole job is to manage the hardware? Like that's a taking money, not only money away from you, time away from you, which you may not be able to buy. And let's say they are like, hey, dude, we have to design a system which can handle the worst case scenario, and rather than make sure that DDoS attack does not destroy us instantaneously, you have to have extra security layers and all that. Those things cost money, and they start to become a what we call capital blockade. Basically, your money you had like from your investor, your stock market, whatever have you, that money is now blocked. Whether you are using it or not, no, does not matter. It's blocked, flat or blocked. So people don't want that. And another aspect is you do not know the future. You may think like, okay, I'm gonna build this app, Instagram. How big it's gonna be? Let's say 100,000 people start to use that, but what happens if a billion people start to use that? Now you may say that's a good problem to have, but again, your literally application could break at that very moment when people start to use it, and you may lose even the people who were using it. So you have to have something that is scalable. To make something scalable, either you have to overbuild by a lot, or you have to find someone who can upscale it for you. So Amazon does that for you, because Amazon would have, let's say, 10 20 clients that are like dealing their main servers, and they're like, this guy is using that a lot more resources, that because there is no way in hell that all 10 will be starting to max out their requirement at the same time. So they can easily allocate resources, and they have hardware, they have physical hardware, they have more than enough buffer that they don't even have to think about like okay, allocating resource from unused part to the used part. They're like, we got this, bro, we got this, we have the hardware. So that is why more and more people are like, yeah, good, I'm gonna build a site, I'm directly gonna do it this. They don't even think about, like, right now thinking about like, okay, I'm gonna do my own hosting is not even a thing. Nobody thinks about that anymore. So how successful this whole 2006 experiment was? Well, think of it this way. In the early days, Amazon Marketplace was dumping money into this to establish this, like to do that. And nowadays, this is so successful that it is the main money maker of Amazon. Basically, how the heck Jeff Bezos is so rich is because of this puppy. This puppy at some peak points was making $1 billion a day. It's like, yeah, just $1 billion. I ain't got time for it. Just take $1 billion. Where do you think Jeff Bezos get the money to run a Blue Origin and directly like, yeah, I'm gonna give you $1 billion per year? Where the heck that money comes from? That came from this. And basically, Amazon Web Services have ludicrously high returns. Basically, you put $10 in, Amazon put $10 in, now they are getting $100 out. So it's very, very profitable. And it has the biggest single market share in the planet. What does that mean? That simply means if Amazon Web Services go off, like completely, like, done, dead, most of the internet will stop working flat out, because they are the single largest chunk provider of internet. So from Netflix to Twitch to LinkedIn to Instagram to Wix to NASA to Tata Motors, and actually their list is much for you, but these are the big ones. Like, and Netflix had a very good experience with Amazon Web Services, simply because in the early days Amazon was not that big and they were not able to handle it basically in Netflix that well. So instead of rejecting or giving poor service, they kept scaling their system back. Like they're like, okay, you want 10 terabytes, I'm gonna give you 10 terabytes. Like they kept scaling back. Now benefit of that in 2000, around 2011 and all that, just like Netflix dumped their all their infrastructure. They're like, yeah, we're not gonna deal with infrastructure, we're just directly gonna go into Netflix. Now if Amazon can handle Netflix, you do not have anything that can compete against this puppy. So LinkedIn is like, bro, just deal with it. I don't want to do that. And because of the approach of how the heck hardware is segregated from you, 10 people built Instagram, and because they kept starting to grow at exponential rate, Amazon was like, yeah, I already have the hardware. Do you want to pay more to unlock that privilege? Done. And Twitch. So again, if you can handle Netflix, you can handle Twitch. And Twitch requires a low latency. Amazon is like, I got this, bro. I have like the server counts that they have, like physical location, like from Mumbai to New York to everything, like they have hundreds of servers. Like they actually have servers everywhere, so they do not even have to worry about latency and lag. They inherently have that, and most of them have dual data redundancy. So physically destroying one place will not do anything. Like data will be, your latency will go up, but they got this, they can handle this. So that is why, because of the fact that they scale very well, and you don't even have to think about it. So you're like, let's say you start to build a vlog, let's say, and it slowly start to become the next Reddit, and it's like, whoa, like data consumption is going too much. Amazon is like, I got this, bro. Just unlock this payment, and the more you use, the cheaper it gets. That's also an interesting part, because Amazon realized like it's in their best interest. So big chunky data makes them more profits. So they're like, yeah, if you're consuming 500 GB, I'm gonna charge you, let's say, $1 per GB. If you're gonna consuming 5,000, we're gonna charge you 1 cent per GB. Again, it's not that dramatic, but you get the point. Basically, the more you consume, the cheaper it gets. So That is the whole point why every Tom, Dick, and Harry is jumping into this. It's like A, they're experienced. B, they actually scale very well. If you can handle Netflix and the way it scaled in the early years, you don't have to worry about, like, there is a very low chance that you can be in a scenario where it's like, okay, I did this and now Amazon is unable to handle it. That will not happen. That will flat out not happen. And again, if NASA trusts them, like in terms of security, they all can also deal with Department of Defense requirements. So in terms of security, you can pay the highest tier where you can physically isolate your server. So your whole optical network will be only for you. So they will not mix and match your data traffic if you want to do that. Again, but you have to directly talk with them. But they are very successful. Now, does this mean they have a monopoly? Well, in early years they had a monopoly, but slowly Amazon Azure started to become a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger threat, because again they had some advantages of learning from Amazon. So right now they are in the second place. So again, they do not have such a big chunk as Amazon, but they still have significant. Basically, they can stand next to Amazon and you can see them in a graph. And other companies are like teeny tiny from IBM and all that. So they are very successful, and they also have like almost similar things, similar paying margin and all that jazz, where you can do like SQL data warehouse, SQL database, machine learning, event hubs, data factories, stream analysis, HD Insight, notification hubs, and all that. Like you can do whatever you want with Amazon, Microsoft Azure. And you might think, what about Google? Now Google is also into this mix, but Google is in 9th place. They are not as successful as you would think, given that it's Google, but they're not that. Again, it's still a significant enough chunk, but they're below IBM and some other names that you have not heard of. So in terms of popularity, it really did not translate as well. But again, there are many sites from Squarespace that offer services like Squarespace, make a website using us. They directly utilize Google Cloud Platform at the back end. So again, if you know what you're doing, that is the most greatest advantage. If you know what you're doing, you can build your own website. And there are certain benefits, like I give you my personal annoyances that I want to build a website for my YouTube channel and all that jazz. But here's the, I truly hate the fact all websites are freaking horizontal, freaking very vertical. It's like, okay, most desktop screens are widescreen, but some reason this area is empty and that area is empty. I don't like that. I want like widescreen, like how Netflix is. But to do that, you have to go into the code level, or hope that like one of the template actually has this kind of orientation where they actually utilize 16:9 ratio, which most of them don't. But again, if you have direct core level access to the hardware, you can design however you want to do that. I mean, like Netflix is like that. Netflix is oriented like this way. I want that. So these sort of things becomes you gain flexibility. However, you have to know what you're doing. If you do not know, and this is serious thing, like you may have to pay 1 or 2 people who actually know what they're doing, and those people won't be very cheap. So it is a significant enough expenditure. But if you do that, there are people in YouTube who do this kind of thing in the side, that they're like, yeah, I'm hosting my website for free. Because Google, like, they won't even bother charging you if you are like, yeah, barely a few hundred people are using this. They're not gonna charge you. Like again, they might charge $1 a month or $5 a month. So they are quite scalable. And not to mention, if you randomly, let's say you became the next big thing, Google is like, I got the hardware, or Amazon is like, I got the hardware. Don't worry about it. So that is why this new kind of way of thinking, where internet service providers are no longer like the biggest thing. Now web service providers are the big thing. It's a very interesting way of looking at things. Now if you truly know what you're doing, I would seriously urge you to don't even waste your time on Wix or Squarespace. Directly go to the source. They are available and they're cheaper. Annoying, the graphics are very annoying to deal with. So this was my presentation on basically Amazon Web Services. Hopefully you would have gotten some idea of like what the hell Amazon is. Like if you had no idea, no clue, you may have understood what they are doing. Now in that scenario, if you had enjoyed this, learned from this, I would urge you to press like. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.